Alright, welcome to my fourth web development tutorial series. This time we're going to be moving on to CSS. If you haven't seen the previous videos, I'll put a link on screen and in the description. We finished up HTML in the previous video. So once you're good with HTML, you can go ahead and move on to CSS or Cascading Style Sheet, which is going to be giving us the ability to make our websites look really nice rather than just giving it a basic structure. So to start, you're going to create a new document, text document, and you're going to give it a name. I'm going to call mine style, and then you're going to change that .text to .css for Cascading Style Sheet. And once you have that, you can go ahead and open it up in whatever text editor you're using. I'm still using Sublime. The link will be in the description. Now we have two documents. We have an index.html and a style.css. So we have no way of referencing this currently, so we need to do that. We need to reference this HTML document to the CSS document. So to do that, we can use the link tag, which is going to take three properties. First one being rel, the second one being type, and the third one being href. So href is similar to the a tags or hyperlink tags we've seen previously. You'll just define a reference, which is style.css. That's what I called mine. Whatever you called yours will go there. The type is going to be text/CSS, and then the rel or relationship is going to be style sheet, because that's what a CSS document is. It's a cascading style sheet. Once you have that, you can go ahead and save it, and that'll properly reference you to your style.css. So currently, right now, our HTML document is changing the background color to be this grayish color. We can go ahead and do that in CSS to test if it's working. So I'll copy that hexadecimal value and delete this. That's changing the background color, and save it and refresh it. Now we have the default white. So if I go in here and I type body, so we're changing the body color, and then type background dash color colon, and then put that hexadecimal value and refresh this page, as you can see, I've changed my background color back to the gray. So this was done through CSS and not through HTML. Alright, so let me explain a little bit about how this is working. So in the CSS document that we've linked through our HTML document, I am referencing the tag body. So this is the body tag right here. And then inside curly braces, I start to define properties for body, or whatever tag you're referencing. So the property I define is background dash color, and then I give a colon after that, and then I do a space. You don't have to have a space, it just makes it look nice. And then I define the hexadecimal value for gray. So you can put like whatever you want here. I can put like red, and it would be a red background, but that looks terrible, so let's not do that. And that'll change the background color. So this is how it works for every single tag. So let's do a paragraph tag next. We'll do a paragraph tag, and we'll just put paragraph inside that, and we'll save that. So now we have a paragraph with the text paragraph inside of it, and then we can reference this through our CSS document. So we'll do that by doing p space and then curly braces, and then inside that, it's a capital P, it should be lowercase, and then inside that we can start giving it properties. So I'll do color white, which will change the text color. If you refresh the page, then you have white text. And then I'll do font dash size, and that'll increase the size. We'll define the amount to 20 pixels. As you can see when I was typing that earlier, I'll show you real quick. If I type font, it's going to give me like options I can choose from. Now you can find these all online, but Sublime does help a lot by just already showing you a bunch of options. So if you kind of remember what it was called, you can search it through this. That's one reason I recommend using Sublime over other text editors. It's a pretty nice little feature. But now we see that if I refresh the page, this is 20 pixels instead of whatever the default is. We can also define the font family, and I'll give this one a family of Verdana. So this is going to change the font type. So instead of being the default, it'll be Verdana. As you'll see, this will change it. So watch real quick, and boom. Now this p tag right here is going to be changing every single p tag in the entire document. So if you want to specify, you can do that. So I'll go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to copy it multiple times. I'll do 5 of them so I can show you all this. Alright, so we're going to have 5 paragraph tags that are going to be looking the exact same because that's what p tag does, is it's referencing every single paragraph tag. Now if I want to start focusing in on them a little bit, I have to define what I want them to be. So you have two types to choose from. You have ID, and then you also have class. So I'll give this one an ID of font, and I'll just say ID as well, and I'll change the text inside of it to be font ID. So now this paragraph tag is going to look the exact same currently, but it'll have the changed text inside of it. And IDs and classes are a little bit different. They're pretty similar, so I'm just going to teach you this real quick. IDs are used only once. You do not want to use them ever again throughout a document, unlike classes, which can be used as many times as you like. This is like the main difference between them. You'll learn from experience if you try to use IDs multiple times, eventually it's going to fail. I'm not exactly sure when or exactly sure under what circumstances it'll fail, but it will. So how you reference an ID is you do hashtag, $, pound sign, whatever you want to call it, font, ID, and then you do your curly braces, and inside this you can start changing the properties. So as you can see here we have our $, font ID, which is saying this is an ID of, and then the name. So we've defined that we want an ID of font ID, and this is calling to our CSS document and saying, hey, this is the ID this paragraph tag is requesting, and it checks and says these are the conditions I'm going to give it. So let's define those conditions. So we'll give it a bold, and how you do that in CSS is you do font weight, and then inside that you define it as bold. And now if we refresh the page, as you can see, that text has been bolded. So we said I want that ID of font ID, and CSS says okay, here's the ID, and what you get is you get bolded text if you have that ID. Alright, so now we can define a class. Class is defined the exact same way, except you can change it to class instead of ID. And then we'll call that font class. We'll change the text so you can see that to be font class. And then we're going to give a parameter to this. Now classes are defined with dots instead of $. So font class dot font class, and then we define a parameter as well. And we'll just change the size. Font size 30 pixels. So now if we refresh this, our class has been called, and the property was font size 30 pixels, which is larger by 10 pixels than our default font size of 20 pixels. So that's how classes work, the exact same. Now something that classes can do that IDs can't do is they can have multiple classes. So you do class equals font class, and then let's say we want to call another class that changes the color of the text to red, and then we just put a space and type red. So that's font class and then a class of red. So these are two different classes. Put some text in there so you can see that. So right now it is only being called to the property of font class because the property of red is not defined, which we'll define that now. Red, and then we'll do color colon red. So now if we refresh this page, this line is going to be red. There you go. So that's two classes being called, increasing the size to 30 pixels and changing the color to red. And I'm pretty sure you can call as many as you want, so don't worry about that. So you can also call an ID and a class in the same line. So let's do that. ID, we'll do font ID 2. Remember, don't use IDs multiple times. And then outside of that, we'll do class, and then we'll do font class again. So this ID, we're also just going to give bold, so we'll define that under our IDs. Font ID 2, and then font weight bold. We could give it something else, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let me change that text to be font ID 2 and font class. So there we go. We have multiple ways of changing how a paragraph works. I'm going to go through and explain these again. So we have our default paragraph, which is being modified by this paragraph tag, which will change all the paragraphs. In fact, all 5 of them will be changed. And then our ID, which is giving bold to this second paragraph. Nothing else is being passed. And then we also have one that is taking a class, a font class, which is giving font size of 30 pixels. And then we have one after that taking two classes, font class and red. So it is it's 30 pixels and red. And then the one after that is taking a different ID and the same class of font class, which is the first ID is giving bold, and then the class is giving 30 pixels. So as you can see, it scales up in size and whatnot. This is basically how CSS works. You just create a style sheet, cascading style sheet of different properties for each of these. The dots are for classes, the number signs are for IDs, and then without that, you're going to be calling a tag, generally. So you can also, in front of these IDs or classes, put like P if you want to specify. So this font class would only work for paragraphs, nothing else, none of the other tags in HTML.